Good morning. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. We are week 4 and day 5. Wow. We only have 4 more days of Jesus, Joan, and Journal, which will be next week, Monday through Thursday. We will end on Thursday, July the 31st. Good morning, Elder Lexi. So nice to see you, my love. We've got 4 more days to go, guys. So today we're going to do a wrap up of all the things that we discussed this week. We are going to finish it out with day 5, and then we will be back next Monday through Thursday. And our special guest will join us next Thursday on the 31st to just close out the summer series of Jesus, Joan, and Journal. So welcome. If you're joining me for the first time, I'm Dr. Joan T. Randall. I'm an author, publisher, realtor. I help people write books. I help people buy and sell homes. And I love to talk about the goodness of the Savior. And so I am going to take a few minutes as we go and do the intro. But before I do the intro, I want to talk to you about what the topic is for today. The topic is generational transfer. All right. We are in the series this week that is real estate and ownership. And today we're going to talk about generational transfer. So give me about 44 seconds and I'll be back. In the meantime, grab your journal, grab your tea, invite a friend, and join me at the 45 seconds. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for all of you that are joining me this morning. I am excited to be here with you as we close out week 4 in the summer series of Jesus, Joan, and Journal. And I hope that you guys had some takeaway from this week. I want to kind of recap some of the things that we talked about this week. And so we talked about possessing the land, right? Possessing the land. And some of our speaking points were you can't possess what you're afraid to approach, right? And then when we talked about possessing the land, we highlighted Joshua 1 and verse 3, that the Holy Spirit had told Joshua that I will give you the land anywhere your feet touches, you will own that land. I will give it to you, right? So you can't possess what you are afraid to approach. So go ahead and approach what it is that you want to own. Go ahead and call it into existence. There's life in your tongue. There is power in your tongue. There is power in what you say. There is power in what you write, and it belongs to you. Ownership requires both vision and stewardship. You have to have the vision. You've got to write the vision, and you've got to steward what you have to get to the vision, right? And then possessing land is about expanding your territory, not just owning things. And while I was going through these daily discussion, we were talking about the parallel with owning land, but owning you. And what you own and what you have and what is in your hand, and how do you steward that? We also talked about building to last, and we went to Matthew 24 and verse 25. And we talk about foundations matter more than appearances. Storms reveal the strength of what you have built, and God blesses what's built on obedience and consistency. That is what God, He blesses what we are obedient to and on and for, and the consistency of it. You can't start and stop. Oh my God, so many of us do that. I am guilty of that myself. I'll start something and then stop it midway, right? And I pray every day for me not to get back into those bad habits that I had before, right? Where I'm stopping something. It's easy, especially when it gets difficult. You feel like, oh my God, I can't do it anymore. I'm just going to leave it here. And then you have a million things half done. You cannot get to where you need to go half doing things, half done. Like you have 10 different things and they're all half done. Nothing is completed. All right. And then we talked about divine inheritance, right? And we talked about Deuteronomy 6 and verse 11. We talk about divine inheritance does not eliminate preparation, but it demands it. We also speak to favor will place you where you didn't interview, apply, or qualify, right? It's your inheritance. You didn't have to build it. You didn't have to inherit it, but favor will give it to you, right? And when you inherit it, you inherit to multiply, not to just like easy peasy and coast on out, right? Then we talked about yesterday. I want to just recap what we discussed yesterday, if I can get my little notes here. We talk about inheriting the land, right? Talked about go put your foot on some land and watch the sun rise and feel the grass on your feet and get grounded. Righteousness is the gateway to inheritance. You are not just called to own, you're called to occupy. You're not just called to own, you're called to occupy, right? Go live on it. Inheriting land is about generational dwelling, not temporary possession, right? And then I asked the question yesterday as your journal prompt, what does inheriting the land look like for you right now, spiritually, financially, or relationally? And then this morning, I'm going to wrap it up with generational transfer. Yesterday, I already talked about Proverbs 13, verse 22, where it says a good person leaves an inheritance for his children's children, right? But there was a but to that scripture where it says, but the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous, right? And when I talked about wicked, I was talking about people who acquire wealth based on unethical things and theft and manipulation and illegal, all those things, right? And then I also mentioned about Tyler Perry owning now what was once a plantation, and then the two sisters that bought the entire plantation where their foreparents worked as slaves, right? And so that I wanted you to see what that meant when I talked about the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. So today we're going to talk about generational transfer. Legacy is intentional. It is not accidental. It is intentional. Whatever you do in terms of building your legacy is intentional. Even if your legacy is just books, even if it's your story, even if that's all that you can leave your family, it is intentional. You have to write it. You have to put it down. You have to have a meeting with your family and say, this is what I'm leaving you. Next week we will talk about some of the things that you can put in place that your children know, or your grandchildren know what you are leaving them, your trust, all of those things, right? It is intentional. It is not accidental. I cannot tell you how many people leave this earth and did not have anything intentional in place. And what happens? There was a fight. I think about the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, that passed away and did not have a will. I think about James Brown that passed away and didn't have a will. And so did Prince. And so people fought over what they left. And guess who's going to get most of that? Sometimes the state get most of that money, right? Because now they have to do all this process and, all the stuff. And so all of their wealth now becomes a part of the state, and the people who truly need it can't get it, or it takes years for a probate, or it takes years, if there's no probate, for them to figure out how is this money going to be dispersed, right? So legacy is intentional. It is not by accident. You don't leave generational wealth or wisdom or witness by hoping. You don't just leave it by hoping. You leave it by planning. You leave it by putting it in place. That is the good thing to do. So whether it's real estate, whether it's a business system, whether it's the insurance, whether it's a spiritual guidance, whether it is a book of recipes, whatever it is that you want to leave to your next generation, structure it, and don't just leave it as a sentiment. Put a structure around it. Write it down. Put it in place, right? So that someone can take it and run with it after you are no longer here. So I want you to ask yourself this morning, for those that are listening or will watch the replay, what systems or documents am I putting in place to make sure that what I've built doesn't die with me? Good morning, Nakia. Nice to see you. Good morning, Sister Cheryl. What systems or documents am I putting in place to make sure that what I've built doesn't die with me? I told you the story about a year ago, last January. I went to my oldest brother's funeral. He's the firstborn of my mother. And my brother had been a law enforcement person for most of his life. I think since he was 18, he went into the army in Jamaica, spent years in the army. When he came out of the army, served his time, he went into law enforcement. My brother was a police officer for years and ended up becoming, captain and you name it, the highest of honors. But there was something about my brother that was also incredible in our country. My brother was the first detective in law enforcement in the islands, the Caribbean islands, that used DNA to catch a criminal. The first one, right? This was when DNA was just starting to become a thing. My brother used it to track a criminal, right? And so he made history in Jamaica. He made history on the island. And when my brother retired, right, I kept saying to him, bro, you've got to write the book. First of all, he was the son of a 15-year-old girl. That's how old my mother got pregnant at 14. She gave birth to my brother at 15. He was the son of a 15-year-old child. My brother wasn't raised by my mother. He was raised by my grandmother, which is my mother's mother. And the fact that my brother did what he did in his life, the trial, the tribulation, but then the accolades, the discipline, and all of that he accomplished. I said to him, bro, let's put it in a book. And my brother kept saying, yes, I'm going to do it. Yes, I'm going to do it. Yes, I'm going to do it. Last January, I went to my brother's funeral, right? And there at my brother's funeral were his grandchildren. There were 2 and 3 and, young ages. And one of the things I turned and said to my sister, I said, those grandchildren will never know the legacy of my brother, will never know all the things he had to overcome, will never know how significant he was, will never know the history of what he did, because my brother never wrote that book. He never put anything on paper. He never laid out his journey. That could be something that his grandchildren would have had later on in life to say, if my grandfather could have done it, I can do it too. There was nothing left for my great nieces, right? And nephews to look back on. This was the legacy of my grandfather. Now they can go to the archives, right? The law enforcement in Jamaica, because the history of my brother is written in record there. But they not gonna know. When I look at those little 2-year-old, they not gonna know to go research that. So that was such an eye-opening experience for me, because when my brother's coffin was going down in the grave, my heart hurt, because he left nothing for them to hold on to. Nothing was left for them. Yes, he had a house. Yes, he had land, which his daughter got, but that too shall, that too will 100 years from now is like a whatever, right? But there's nothing left. There is nothing intentional left. Man, I'm telling you, that was just painful for me. His sister was a publisher, his sister, and he never put anything on paper. I would have loved to hear his perspective of what he thought his life was, especially growing up, right? So a true legacy is written, it's protected, and it is transferable. That is what a true legacy is. It is written, it is protected, and it is transferable. So don't let all of your brilliance die with you. Don't leave here without leaving something else. Because when the Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, again, he's not just talking about money, but it's what you own. It's what you have. It's who you are, right? Write it, protect it, transfer it. Your legacy should be both tangible and transformative, or transformational, right? Let's talk about real estate. That's transformational, but it's also tangible. Let's talk about trust funds, where Pastor Lexi and I will talk about next week. Let's talk about your estate, right? Let's talk about family-owned businesses. Let's talk about books. Get this, copyright material, trademarks. Do you know that all those things are transferable? So if you write a book and you trademark that book and you get a certificate of trademark from the trademark.gov, do you know that's transferable? A trademark? Like, I have Books to Business and Beyond as a trademark, right? Granted, you have to update your trademark like I think it's every 10 years, but I can transfer my trademark to my grandchildren, right? Rights to music, that's transferable. Guess what? ISBN numbers, International Standard Book numbers, they are transferable, right? So there's so many things that we don't recognize that we can transfer. We always think it's just money, right? But it's not. It's digital products. So your ebooks, anything digital that you have or that you own, you can transfer those things, right? Make sure that your children and your grandchildren know what you have, right? And make sure they know what you believed. What did Gigi believe? What was her belief system? What was her values? What was the things she held near and dear to her? Let me carry this on. Let me follow in her footsteps. Yesterday, well, the day before at my birthday, my daughter presented me with 3 gift cards from my grandchildren, right? Kadine's children. And they all made their own cards for me. Yeah, it can be transferred, Janet. ISBN numbers, digital products, copyright can be transferred, trademarks can be transferred. It is not just money or land or a house. I'm telling you, right? You just have to know it, right? And so I'm reading my middle grandson, Gabriel, right? He is 10. I know he has the writer's thing. He has the writer's thing because every time I go there and I stay with them, I always give them projects to do for Gigi, right? And I would always say, all right, what's your project this week? And Gabriel is the only one that says, I'm going to write you a poem. I'm going to write you a poem. So every chance he gets, he writes me something. And the first time he did it, I was blown away by his creativity and how we made sure all the last words rhyme, right? And so I have gotten 3 or 4 incredible poems from him that I don't even have to edit because it's pure genius and creativity. But the card that he gave me for my birthday, listen, I want you to listen to this, okay? Because I have to read this. I told my daughter that I was going to read it yesterday, but I'm going to read it today. This is what I'm talking about, legacy, because he sees me write. He knows he wants to write. He wants to read my book, Bags in the Attic. And I'm like, no, when you're older, you'll get to read it, but you're not going to read it right now. Well, let me read a poem that Gabriel wrote to me for my birthday. Listen to this. It says, roses are scarlet. Carnations are pink. You bump me right up when my joy's out of sync. This is a 10-year-old, okay? Why would you compete when you've already got the crown? More so when you've got empathy when someone feels down. Your smile's contagious. Doesn't mean you should stop because your kindness should spread over any mountaintops. I sent appreciation in these words. Although my love, it is due, keep on shining your light and your happiness too, because I love you. This is my 10-year-old grandson's poem. Okay. All right. And I was just blown away. And this is like the 5th thing. So I'm saving all of his poem because I'm going to put it in a book for him one day. That's like the 5th thing he has given me that I'm really going to do. So give your family, your children, something that they can live in, something that they can live by. You may not have a home to give them, or they may not want your house. I remember when I had my big old home, my kids said, I don't want this. It's too big. I don't want to clean all of this, right? So give them something that they can live by. That's legacy. Yeah, sis, 10 years old. Good morning, Doc. 10 years old. And so his older brother was like trying to follow in his footsteps with the writing. But I'm telling you, that is legacy. What are they seeing you do? What does your grandchildren and your children, what are they looking at? What they're seeing how you live, right? While you build, transfer while you're still here. That was the problem with these people I talked about, the James Brown of the world and the Aretha Franklin of the world. They were building, but they weren't doing anything while they live. And so when they passed, when I say they weren't doing anything, they weren't talking about what I'm leaving for you because there was no will, right? And so if you're not educating your family about what you're leaving, what they're going to get, they don't know. And in those cases, the government now has to step in and get all into their business. And then they're fighting. Sisters and brothers are fighting for what they think they own or what they believe should be theirs, right? Don't wait until the will is read. Teach your family how to handle what you are building now. Educate them. Take them with you. You're buying a house or you're going to look at a property. Bring your grandchildren with you, right? You're a contractor. Bring your grandson or your granddaughter with you. Show them let them see what the generational trajectory looks like. you're walking at home because you're looking to buy a house and you go to an open house, bring your kids with you, bring your grandchildren with you, let them see it. You want to buy some land, bring them with you. Let them hear the conversation you're having with the contractor. Let them hear the conversation you're having with the listing agents. Let them hear the conversation you're having with the realtor. Let them hear the conversation that you're having with a broker, with a general contractor. Let them hear it. Somebody come in your house to fix it. Let them be privy to the conversation. Let them hear it, right? Train them in stewardship. Train them in ownership. Train them in tithing. Train them in investing. Train them in saving. Train them in giving. Train them in serving. That's legacy. That's generational transfer. This is what I saw my Gigi do. This is what I saw my pop-up do. This is what my mom did. This is what my mom does. Train them in, let them see you be that. Schedule meetings with your family. Dr. Laxley's on here this morning, and every Saturday they have a family meeting now for years. And sometimes those family meeting goes on for hours. If you have not done that, start doing that, right? Maybe once a month you do a legacy meeting is what I call it. Bring your family together and you do these legacy meetings. Let them know it's once a month. It's the last Friday of every month. It's the Saturday of every week, whatever it is. Schedule legacy meetings. This is what we're talking about, generational transfer. We don't do it in our community enough, right? Speak blessings over your family and then let them see you lead. Invite the little kids to the family, the legacy meeting. Ask them what's on their mind. They may not say anything. They may joke. Ask them, do you have any questions? Ask them, do you understand what this means? Ask them, what would you like to contribute? Those are the things we do. We have got to change our mindset on the little that we have. If we think we don't have much, well, God already gave you dominion. He gave you authority. You have now just got to understand, how do I build on this story? How do I build on this one thing that I have? How do I build on this gift? How do I steward what I am and what I'm good at? And how do I let my children and grandchildren see that so they can be proud and carry that on, right? It's just crazy to me, right? Let your kids see you tithe. Let your kids see you give. Let your kids see you budget. Let your kids see you invest. Let them see it. If you don't teach them, the world will. If you don't teach them, culture will. If you don't teach them, AI will. If you don't teach them, other people will influence them. And you don't want that. You don't want the AI influence. You don't want the cultural influence, the worldly cultural influence. You don't want somebody else influencing your child. You've got to teach them. You've got to do it, because you may not like what culture teach them. You need to be nurturing them, because if you don't, the world will, and you may not like what the world teach them. I see mothers and daughters fighting every day, like fist fighting, like physically fist fighting. A daughter and a mother, and the daughter is calling her mother all kind of names in this world. What does that say about legacy? That's sad, right? So today, as I get ready to wrap up, here's the declaration that I want you to think through, or to say to yourself. I build with legacy in mind. What I leave will be a blessing, not a burden. And I declare that my children's children will be equipped to carry it forward. I joke all the time when I talk about my legacy of writing and producing books. I joke about it all the time. You know what? I will die a millionaire. I believe that, right? I'm claiming that. I will die a millionaire. I will die leaving property. I will die leaving houses, land for my grandchildren, right? And my children. Um, but what I'm most proud of is that I took that first step in 2016 to write a book, because it was all of that writing and all of the things that they see me writing, and all the time, and the devotionals and the journal, even this talk about a digital transfer, even me coming live, right, on Facebook, on YouTube, on whatever platform, even that is a legacy. Even that is a legacy, right? The videos that I do that's out there. If you Google my name, Joan T. Randall, you are going to see a whole bunch of stuff. That's legacy for my grandchildren. When any one of Izzy called me on my birthday to say happy birthday, and he said, Gigi, I called you and you had a voicemail, and the voicemail said, this is Victorious U Press. Nobody is here right now. Please leave a message. And he was just like, teasing me. This is Joan T. Randall with Victorious U Press. It's just, so these are the things they see, right? They're being influenced at 7 and 8 and 10 and 13, and all of these formidable years when things are being implanted in their memory, in their brain, right? And they joke all the time and they laugh all the time because they hear me, they mock me, but it's registered in their brain. So even if they make joke about Joan T. Randall, Dr. Joan T. Randall, they know that will carry on through them forever. They will be able to tell their grandchildren about their great, 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 great grandmother. That's legacy, man. Is how you live, is how you steward, is how you show up. It is what your children see. It is what your grandchildren see. Don't let the world teach them, because if you don't, the world will, and you may not like what the world teaches them. So I'm going to repeat the declaration. I build with legacy in mind. What I leave will be a blessing, not a burden. And I declare that my children's children will be equipped to carry it forward. And I want you to think about this morning as you write in your journal, what do you want your children or your legacy circle to inherit from you? What do you want your children or your legacy circle to inherit from you? And what step can you take this week to put a structure around that inheritance? I can't wait to talk to you about saving, investing, commodities, trust, estate, all those things, because it's really not just about putting your money in a savings account. There's so much more that you can do to create a legacy for your children's children. That's all I have. Janet says, my children do hilarious impressions of me. Yep, absolutely. All right, guys, thank you for being with me this week. I look forward to seeing you guys on Monday. And listen, I want to ask you a favor. Can you go follow me on my platforms? So if you look on the links at the bottom of this live, I have a new Facebook business page. It's called Dr. Joan T. Randall, Realtor Broker. Please go follow my page. I will be posting all things real estate, right, for you, tips and things, not just real estate, but about credit, about pre-approval, about land, about all the things that I have been learning. So listen, you can do it. The Bible says you can have 7 streams of income up to 8. Okay. So don't think it is strange of me doing real estate while I'm a publisher and a minister. We can do it all. We can do it. We just have to time block and set up some structure that you don't get overwhelmed or burn out. But it is possible because God has given you the capacity to dominate, to rule, to subdue, to have authority in his name. And he will give you. And the minute you step foot out there, take one action, God is going to support it. He's going to favor it. He's going to bless it. And he'll surround you with people that can help you. All right. So that's what I'm leaving you with this weekend. God bless you. I love you all. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.